Hello and welcome back to an all-new Sam Spins World. I'm your host, Samantha Bremekamp, and we are back on the resin train. This time, we're not doing UV resin. We're going to do the type of resin that you have to mix really, really well, and then put it in whatever mold you're going to use, whether you have a heart-shaped one or whatever, and then let it sit and leave it alone for days and days and days. So, together, we're going to do the many steps of mixing. It's at least 3 different times that you're mixing it for several minutes, the joining, and the setting. So get pumped, pull up a stool, comfy chair, loved one, and some really good snacks, and let's deep dive into resin. And for whatever reason, you always pour the resin into the hardener. Don't do it the other way around. Do as they say, they're experts. Resin into hardener. We're going to mix by hand at first 3 to 5 minutes. Then we're going to pour it into another container and mix again for 3 to 5 minutes. And then we're going to let it sit by itself for 3 to 5 minutes. 3 steps of 3 to 5 minutes, 2 mixing, 1 sitting. We've got this. I'll probably pass forward through all of like the mixing because you don't need to watch me stir for 3 to 5 minutes. But I think we're going to be okay. I think it's going to be awesome. We've got this. Okay. This is the hardener. I'm going to pour that in first. 20 of these cups. You always want to wear gloves, by the way. So don't do anything without gloves. And in fact, I'm going to remove my engagement ring because I don't want anything happening to that. So make sure you're not wearing stuff that you're going to be like super upset about. And you're probably going to want to perhaps put your hair up. I'm not going to because it's for the show and it's not summer. But for those of you out there who are really going to try this, gloves on, hair up, get serious. So remember I said that these, I pre-measured them. They each hold 2 cups. First, I'm going to pour the hardener into a container. Ooh. Don't show off, okay? This is serious business. In a couple years, it's going to reach the top. How exciting. Didn't realize I would need some endurance for this, but good for us. Luckily, I have it. Okay. Got it exactly to that line that I talked about before. I'm going to now pour it into my container. A nice quick pour. I want to make sure as much as possible comes out because you did measure it and it is science. An exact science to be sure. It's not the best smell. If you have a really awesome ventilated area that you can do projects, great. If not, open windows, get some fans, and wear a mask if you don't have great ventilation in an open space. Of course, if it was nicer out, I would absolutely suggest that you go do this outside. But, okay. Now I'm going to pour this. This is the resin that we will then pour directly into the hardener. Oh yeah, this comes out really slow. Okay. It is different than, yeah, you see how thick that is? To begin the hand stir, you can use like a paint stick or a pair of chopsticks. Look how thick that is. That is serious. Or don't want to overdo it because it has to be equal. All right, come on, go back in your home. Boom. And as that settles, that should be the perfect amount. Let's make sure. Okay, come on, guy, let go. feel like it needs just a touch more. That'll get it to where we need it to be. All right. Hat on. Yeah, you're gonna get gooey. That's just how it goes. Okay. Now we're going to try to remember where I put the chopsticks and pour this in together. The hardener is a thinner liquid. This might take a minute. You could also very easily find silicone measuring cups that you will use specifically for this type of resin. Obviously not going to mix it up with the ones that you use for cooking or anything that you're going to consume. All right. It's so gooey. Goo, goo, goo. So how is everybody's New Year? Can't believe we're a whole new year, whole new you. Can't wait to see what awesome stuff you accomplish. Come on. Get it out. My goodness, so much of it. Okay. There we go. You don't want it to spill anywhere. It's here, put this on this. Okay. I'm going to grab chopsticks. Just have to remember. Okay. So now I'm going to put the glove back on. I'm also going to put a paper towel underneath. Should I spill? Because of course I've met myself before and the odds are really good. And now for 3 to 5 minutes, we're going to stir. Hand stirring for 3 to 5 minutes. Making sure to get all of it. Scrape the bottom, scrape the sides. You want these two to join. I feel like the resin sank. It's a thicker liquid. So I'm pulling it from the bottom, I'm mixing it to the top. For whatever reason, it starts to get warm. Science! Woo! Okay, Now we're going to take what we just mixed for 4 minutes and we're going to pour it into the new container. Note, it's also a recycling container. We know how I like to do. Make sure you scrape the sides. You're getting everybody off because it was a 1-to-1 ratio, so you need it to be precise. As precise as possible. We are human beings, so always take that into consideration. Into another recyclable, of course. I know what's up. Okay. All right, now we're going to mix this another 3 to 5 minutes at least. Do it slowly. You don't want to make too many bubbles. With what I'm adding into it this time, I'm going to do a little shimmer powder just to change it up. Now I'm going to break it up into a couple different things because I want to play around with color. So we mixed 3 to 5 minutes, 2 different containers. Then we let it sit for 3 to 5 minutes. I am going to be using a shimmer powder. So if you're like, what is that? I got a pack of these, so I'm going to be doing champagne gold, which you'll see once I add this stuff too. Sapphire, gorgeous, and plain Jane white, because I'm going to try to make like a beach scene or something. I don't know. I'm going to pour a little into each cup. Now that I already have it measured out as the 1-to-1 ratio, I don't need to worry about it being exact in here because I'm just doing this for color. So I'm just going to do a little bit of each carefully. Oh boy. It's down for a second. 1, 2, 3. Okay. And if you're dripping or anything, just make sure you have paper towels and stuff everywhere because you don't want it bonding to any surface. And we mix and we mix. We're going to get a really pretty shimmery color. You want to mix it really well. If you need to add more, do that. If you've added too much, I have extra in here. Note, I didn't pour it all out because I want to make sure should anything happen or if I want to add different colors or whatever. It's always good to have a little extra. So here's that one beautiful color. Oops, which I just totally poured out. Which you'll see after I pour it into the mold more carefully. 1, done mixing. Now we're going to do the sapphire. Doesn't matter what order you do it in. You don't have to add shimmer powder. If you're going to add liquid color, like any kind of dye, realize that the heavier the dye, like the more you put in it, the more that will start to inhibit the setting. If you added too much dye, like if you're doing UV resin jewelry and you want a really deep color, it might not fully ever set because you've added so much of the dye that it's like not letting the UV permeate throughout. So it might just be sticky forever, and like you don't want that. One workaround that I noted is that you can then add clear to, like, surrounding clear, or do it side by side depending on like what it is, if it's an earring or something, and then you can seal it in that way. I learned that the hard way so that you don't have to. Okay. Now we have this beautiful blue, which I know you're all proud of me because I did not spill that one. It's a miracle. And last but not least, I feel like my forearms are going to be jacked like I was a, pastry chef, sous chef, or any kind of chef, because their forearms are no joke. Switching arms because I'm a weakling. It's a good way to challenge yourself and to take a break if you're super out of shape. So cool. So I'm going to, now that I've done this nicely, I'm going to be using these little, what are these called? Droppers. And I'm going to be filling in some of the dye, and then we're going to do this as well. But I'm going to try the dye first just because I feel like it. I'm going to start with the, we'll start with the white. And it's thick, so understand with the dropper, it's going to take a second to capture anything. I might speed up this part because I already have way too much. So while I'm doing that, trying to do fun layers, combos. I've seen some really cool projects out there, or products that people have made at home. And of course, it inspired me to want to do it myself, which is, Pinterest, the graham cracker, the internet. Okay, so that's about a third of the way filled. I'm going to switch over to this color now. Just a little gold. Remember, you have to have patience with the droppers because this stuff is thick, and it's going to take a minute to like fill the tube. That was so cool. And on to blue. So pretty. Sapphire blue. I have filled one. I'm going to put his little hat on. We're going to set it aside for several days and just see how it comes out. And now we're going to do it on here. Sure. Always check to make sure there are no like dog hairs or whatever. Unless you're just super casual, that's your life. But I think whoever you end up giving this to or keeping would prefer perhaps not having animal. That's just a thought. Okay, so these are mixed. I'm gonna give it another mix before I pour. I'm not pouring this to the top. I just want to show you guys how cool it comes out. Blue. Blue. We'll do real quick. Gold. Okay. Then I'm going to do just a little bit of white right where it meets. There we go. Boop. And if I had an extra stick, split this in half. Just for fun. Swirl it a little bit. Make it look like a beach scene. Oh yeah, that's pretty. Okay. And that's it. Now you're going to set it aside and let it sit for days and days and days. At least 5. You're going to want to check on it. I'm going to put it in the basement in a cool, dry place where nothing's going to disturb it. Nothing's going to land in it. I like to put a sheet of paper or a piece of cardboard over it, but I still want air to get in. I just don't want stuff that, like dust or whatever's flying around the air to land in it. I'm going to bring the camera over for a close-up of this and meet me back here when this is all, we're going to set it and forget it. Okay, so we made it on this journey. I used the epoxy resin 2-part and mixed it into D&D dice, a heart mold, and I used some of the pressed flowers to make like a tray just to see how it all turns out. Now, the first time I did this, I used some of the flowers from the garden. I did not mix it long enough, so the backside is still super sticky. So how I'm going to fix it is just putting another layer of the properly mixed clear on the back and just setting it and forgetting it and letting it fully harden. But I'm super pumped to be able to show you how it comes out. It's just going to take some days. So I'll meet you back here for the big reveal to see if any of this worked out at all. Now it's time for the big reveal. I'm happy to say that it only took overnight for it to cure. Obviously, I didn't fill these up like I had said. So that had a lot to do with it. If you're using more material, it's going to take longer to set. But the dice happened overnight, no problem. And so much so that I made another one out of the heart thing. I'm going to show you how the other one came out. But the molds like this are really fun. Just, you could put it for decoration, but also you can add a photo into it and do like a clear top or something. So you see the photo, but it has the color pop behind it. Getting these out of the molds super easy because it cured completely. So I didn't need to worry about it being sticky because I did it correctly. And you watched, and now you know how to do it correctly so it doesn't get sticky on one side because it didn't cure long enough. So that's a heart mold. Now we did the one with the flowers just to see how it's set. Obviously, I didn't do a very artistic job at it, but pretty sweet. All those things are from the garden, and now we have it. You can serve stuff on it or use it as a cutting board or whatever. Really fun, really easy. I do have some bubbles in it, but this was a practice round just to see how it comes out. But now it's super hard, which is great. So it's taken, all these have worked. Obviously, I'm going to be making tons of things, but I'm really pumped for you to try it. So get out there, go make stuff. And it's okay if you fail, and it's okay if you discover something even cooler than you anticipated. That's the whole point of the maker movement. Awesome. Now go do it too. Thank you so much for joining me on this Sam Splans the World with your hostess with the mostest, Samantha Bremekamp, as we learn about epoxy resin, the steps it takes, and the cool things you can make with it. It's a little bit of a variation from the UV resin, and it's really fun when using flowers from your garden to create really pretty future gifts. They could be cutting boards or things to go as a decoration on a mantle, on a shelf. You could make bookmarks, you could make cups, you can make anything as long as you figure out how to do the mold, find the mold, or use it to make dice or whatever. It's really fun. There's so many different things you can do with it. And hopefully you picked up a couple of things and you're going to try it out for yourself. Looking forward to seeing you next time on BCTV at 9 p.m. It's going to be lit.